my message, therefore, is to stay. Don't leave. We must work together to stem, as I say, that exodus of those leaving the profession. A truly diverse and inclusive workforce is fundamental to the future of our profession. In 2021, I became the 6th female, the 177th, the first Black, the first person of colour, and the 2nd in-house solicitor in almost 50 years to become president of the Law Society in its almost 200-year history. And that was after 4 attempts. When I was elected as Deputy Vice President in 2019, I was interviewed by the Next 100 Years project, and that's a project dedicated to achieving change and equality for women in law. And I was asked about the barriers I had faced as a woman, and replied stating that it was difficult for me to talk about the barriers that I had faced as a woman without talking about the barriers that I have faced as a Black woman. According to statistics gathered by the profession, women make up 53% of practicing solicitors. However, they are not progressing as quickly as their male counterparts. And if you add in intersectionality into the mix, such as age, race, disability, sexuality, social background, and so forth, the barriers become even more higher and even more entrenched. So we all also have an issue around pay. We know women do not have pay parity with their male counterparts, and these are just a few areas where gender inequality prevails. And so yes, being a woman has impacted my career, but I fought back, and I didn't allow those barriers to stop me from pushing through those doors. So in 1928, the Representation of the People, the Equal Franchise Act, was given, which gave all women over the age of 21 voting rights on equal terms with men, was passed in the United Kingdom. Almost 100 years later, women still languish behind men in pay, education, political representation, and the judiciary, to name a few domains where gender inequality prevails. 100 years later, women are still fighting for the right to be seen and heard. 100 years later, if you happen to be a woman, LGBTQ+, from an ethnic background, disabled, older and poor, you may find yourself exiled on a lonely island of discrimination. So it's obvious today that 100 years later, women still face gender equality barriers and prejudice. And whilst there is progress, there is still much more to be done to close the gender pay gap and root out everyday biases. So we must all work together to dismantle attitudes that do not allow us to progress. We must work together to widen access to justice, to make the real promise of equal democracy a reality for many, and to work alongside our male colleagues, our transgendered colleagues, to work alongside everyone to work to make a difference and to never be satisfied until there is equity and equality. %, of French women lawyers leave the profession before reaching 10 years. And that's exactly what happens here. So it may not be 10 years, it might be, and the figures may be slightly more or less, but that is the reality. So we have shared endeavours in trying to stem that flow of exodus. So my message, therefore, is to stay. Don't leave. We must work together to stem, as I say, that exodus of those leaving the profession. A truly diverse and inclusive workforce is fundamental to the future of our profession. And there's a wide body of evidence that shows that the more diverse businesses are, the more profitable they are. So if we are to retain the confidence of the public in our profession must reflect the diverse communities it serves.